Sometimes you have to let things go to be able to grow. And that's exactly what I did.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. My name is Nancy Moore, and I am the host of this weekly podcast that provides career and creative inspiration to help you build a passionate and purpose-filled life. You'll hear from guests that will help you tap into your creative potential, pursue a career with passion, and build on your biggest and best resource, yourself. I'm excited to have you join this conversation. I'm so happy you're here. Let's get started. Before we get started, I'd like to take a minute to thank my sponsor, Colonial Title, serving the Oklahoma real estate industry since 2004. Colonial Title offers a variety of services, including title, consulting, and legal in 2 locations, one in Tulsa and one in Owasso. Check out Colonial Title, where you mean the world to them. You can find them online at colonialtitle.com or on social media, Instagram at Colonial Title. And now on to the episode. Okay, so everybody, I am so happy today to be talking to Scottie Rae Lawrence. She is the founder of Magnolia Soap and Bath Company, and just such an entrepreneur. I heard her at a meeting here in Tulsa Women's Fellowship, and just loved what she had to say and knew I had to have her on the podcast. So I'm so glad she's here today. Welcome, Scottie Rae.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I'm glad. And it's funny because you probably are going to be maybe working very close to me today. You're one of your locations.
Yes.
My favorite location is on Cherry Street.
It is, yes.
Yes. Okay.
My first one.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Okay. So, and we're going to get into that because you do have multiple locations here in Tulsa, but I would love for people to get to know you a little bit better as far as just your background in life. I want to say in business, but you started out on a very different path than where you are now. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Yes, very different. I was just talking to my daughter the other day and like how our life would have been different if I would have been on a different path. So in high school, I was determined to be a fashion buyer, and I was going to go and do that and live in New York City and do the whole thing. So I got accepted into the Fashion Institute of Design in Denver, Colorado. And like every silly teenage girl, I followed a boy to a different school. And so I ended up going to a state college under fashion and textile marketing at Kansas State University. And it was in that first semester, I was so bored. I didn't know what I was going to do or why I was even doing this fashion career. And all they were having us do was cut and color and do stuff like that. And then I learned later on that I'm equally right and left-brained. So it's very hard to balance myself because I need other things. So I thought I was a creative, but I'm very much an intellectual too. And so then I flip-flopped to the exact opposite of that and decided, I'm going to be a doctor. What kind of doctor can I be? And so I called my mom, like, hey, Mom, I want to be a doctor. And she's like, okay. So she goes, let's go and tour different things. So I went and looked at different options and careers. And I was most impressed with what the chiropractic physician did. And I was just like, oh, this is a lot of creativity. This will maybe my right and left brain will work together, And I just dove headfirst into pre-med at that point, excelled, didn't realize how smart I was. And then all these things kind of became very easy for me and went right into chiropractic college. It was so easy. And then I got bored. And I was like, oh, can I be a chiropractor the rest of my life? That seems mundane. But I was so far into the schooling, I was about to graduate and I was dreading graduation because I knew then I had to be a chiropractor, which I didn't think I wanted to be. And it's too late when you're $100,000 in debt. And I was about to get married and we're going to start our practice together because he's also a chiropractor. And so I graduated. We moved from Dallas, Texas to Arizona, started our practice and our life together. And then I was instantly bored and regretting it. And my husband's like, what did I marry? I have this person who was, and so I was like, well, I'm going to start a business. And he's like, what? So I just started looking at businesses to start. And then I found a Curves for Women that was going under from a divorce. And I used that money that we had saved up and I bought that business outright. And then I turned that franchise around and then I opened another one, like within with less than a year. It became very successful. And then I got the bug and I pretty much quit chiropractic and just gave me a support staff for my husband. And I used that money and then I sold Curves. Curves became Pinnacle in like the early 2000s. Those of us that remember Curves, that kind of dates me, I think.
I remember Curves.
Yeah. We were all either members at one point or another. And then I got the bug of that and I sold it and paid off my student loan debt. And that freed me from ever knowing that I had to be in a career I didn't want to be in. And I didn't feel guilty that my husband had to pay my student loans. I was free of it. I, can fill in when I need to. I still carry my license and I'll still say, I'm a doctor of chiropractic, but I definitely do not practice anymore by choice. So that's been my realm. And then I've opened many businesses since and flipped houses and done real estate. And so I just that was my journey to where I sit here today.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's so interesting. There's a couple of things that I want to unpack because I understand getting into a situation where you've gone to school and you have debt and, then once you're at that point, a lot of times people feel like they're stuck.
Yes.
And so was your husband, it seems like he was supportive to you in making a change? Or did you ever feel stuck, I should say?
I never felt stuck. Briefly, and then I'm able to figure out something. But my husband, I think he quickly learned and we had a tumultuous beginning of our marriage because of, I think, my abandonment of the practice. And there's a lot of stuff that, as I look back, I was like, a lot of stress that was put on because of the feelings I was feeling and didn't understand them. And he was panicking, and so, but one thing about my husband and support network is super important. I grew up with parents just to let me know that I could do anything I ever wanted to do. It was never an option that I couldn't do something. So I never thought that I couldn't do something. And then my husband, I always joked that I married wisely. He did not. And so, so his life has been anything but boring. And so he's never once told me no. And in the way of that, okay, I'll bounce ideas and it's not a good idea. But the moment if I have a plan and it sounds logical, he's all in with me. He's not going to do it, but he's like, whatever you want to do. I believe in you. I trust you. And I just do it. I proved myself. In the beginning, it was scary, but you saw how unhappy I was.
So I'm wondering, the fitness industry was huge. Did you were you going to Curves? Did you like Curves? What was it that appealed to you to get the Curves?
It's just like with my Magnolia. I literally knew nothing about Curves.
Okay.
I had never even heard of Curves. I don't even know how I even found out this studio was for sale. Mm-hmm. I think I was told by somebody in our town. And I was like, well, I can do that. I can run a fitness studio. That can't be hard. And so that's really what I did is I just, like I did with this business, I can do that. And it never crossed my mind that I couldn't. Which is, bizarre to most people. They would be paralyzed with the fear of thinking I'm going to just start a business I know nothing about. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's I didn't think I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And so I just did it. Mm-hmm. And that seems reckless to some people. But for me, staying where I was and as miserable as I was, that was more fearful than doing this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how my life seems to go.
So what appeals to you about entrepreneurship? What are the...
That's a great question. People ask me, like, what makes you that? I think an entrepreneur, I have a very restless brain. I got like a 3 or 4 year window before I'm on to another idea, or I have a million ideas happening while I'm doing this business. Like during, having Magnolia, I've already in my head created 3 or 4 businesses. And then which one is going to come to fruition, I don't know. That's like when I'm in the process of doing that now. Like, which one am I going to do? And so I don't know what does that. It's just, there's something you can't explain in an entrepreneur's head. And what I love about it is a constant change. So everything is different all the time. And that keeps me engaged. When I get bored is when things have to change. So I will tussle things up so that something has to be moved around. And that's kind of where I'm at this year. Is like, okay, I have to move one of my stores. It's underperforming, so that's my goal this year, and that's my change that has to occur.
There's enough of a challenge in entrepreneurship, to, like, if there is, because you have how many locations?
I have 3.
3 here in Tulsa.
Correct. I'm slated to have 4, and I've kind of taken a hiatus on that to see, like, this year stability-wise. And find, I won't just go any location. I have to find the right. But I've been looking for, a year or more for the 4th location, but I haven't found that perfect spot yet. So
okay. So one of the things that stood out to me about you also is that you embrace change. And again, you just go against the grain on all of this stuff. Yeah. But again, it's so fascinating to me because people, I think, get caught in a rut a lot of times, or they're so fearful of change, and you welcome change. It's like probably, a shot of adrenaline to your veins. Like you love it. And so if you talk to us about that, because I don't think that change for you is scary at all. So I'd love to hear your perspective on what you enjoy about change.
Yeah, change is not scary at all to me. For me, it's a normal course of life. And the scarier part is change worse than where I'm at. So I look at it as like staying where I'm at complacently. Is that going to be worse for me than taking a risk or changing something up in the next 5 years or next 5 months? And so like currently my brain is going because my husband just purchased the building that his practices in. And so now we are expanding to a new concept for his business. And I'm loving this change, and he's freaking out about it. But I'm like, I have this whole thing going on in my head, and it's spiraling a different business that I never even thought was possible. Then he was just like, oh, okay. So that's just, my head is like, oh my gosh, look at all these neat things that this one opportunity is spiraling into, that we could do this concept that we're creating in our practice and help other chiropractors. And it would never have popped into my head had this one change not happened. We've not taken the leap to purchase this building, this commercial space. So we have all this room that we now can bring in other things. So I think you probably hear when I've said change probably so many times, like that is just something that it does. It's an adrenaline seeker. I wouldn't say I'm a very cautious person in life, and like, I don't seek out thrill adventures. Like I'll never go skydiving. I will never do stuff like that, or free fall or bungee jump. But people see that as less risk than what I do. And I see that as more risk than what I do. And so I am not fearful of changing up, because either I've learned a lesson or I've made a good choice.
Okay.
So I don't see it as a mistake. It's just a lesson learned, and I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
Yeah.
So has there been a situation where you've encountered a failure? I don't know if it would have been an overall business concept and, kind of how you dealt with that and what you learned from that.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I thought we'd take a short break so I can announce my next event on Friday, March 7th from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. I will be hosting my special guest in a live podcast event. Her name is Rachel Lambert, and she is the founder and CEO of Brain Code Centers. Our topic is looking to level up, maximize your brain's potential to propel you towards achieving the next level of success. With almost 2 decades of experience in brain mapping and neurofeedback, Rachel is uniquely equipped to offer specialized insight into brain optimization, brain health, and biohacking your brain. If you feel stuck, need to retrain your brain, or just want to optimize your brain's potential to level up in your life and career, please join this conversation. You can go to my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com, and click the events tab, and I look forward to seeing you then. Now back to the episode.
There was a time a few years ago, right before COVID hit, I had decided to leave our practice and go out and just be an employee. I've never been an employee my whole life. And I was like, I wanted to learn what an employee was like, what it's like to be on the other side of me. I learned that from John Maxwell, like, what was like on the other side of me? And I found that to be profound. I was like, I don't know what it feels like to be my employee. And I want to know what it feels like to be an employee. And I needed a brain break. So from running our practice, and second thing is I chose my marriage over my practice. So working with my spouse since we graduated really was very difficult. We have different work styles. So I'm very type A, he's very type C. Like, they couldn't be any different. So very intense, and he's very laid back and fun. And those don't combine well. We try to do a job in my mind. So, and in his too. So I went and worked for another medical facility and did, some other office work. And so the whole time I was in that job, I learned what a bad boss was like. I learned what a good boss was like. Like, there was traits, right, that I was like, this is what I did. I saw myself in several things that this practitioner did. And then my brain's like, okay, I started building a business. So then I created a business while I was working. And I knew I was going to be leaving there soon, and I had to pull the trigger on something. And so I made this plan without even talking to my husband. So I created this business and talked to my friend. I'm like, hey, I want to open this business. It was a wedding business. And then, because who would have thought a wedding business would tank? We since learned that was, when COVID hit. And I'll kind of get into that. But so I said, hey, told my husband, Drew, I was like, I think we're going to buy this. I want to do this wedding business. And it has a vintage camper that turned into a photo booth. So it was so cute. And he's like, well, I don't think this is the right time, And I was like, well, I've already bought it and it's on its way here. And he was just like, oh my gosh, that's how it is. And he goes, okay. He has no choice now but to jump in and, we're going to do this now because it's just, now we're in it. And I expanded. I had Lucille, the photo camper, and then I added on the Chug Bug, which is like a VW top car. And then I had a horse trailer bar. So I had the whole wedding fleet. And then March 2020 hit and things started spiraling. And I was like, I put all my eggs into growing what I thought was an unending supply of business, right? And I had started building a business and a name for ourselves, and then everything came to a screeching halt. And I was like, uh-oh. So, weddings went away, and my book of business either went away or got postponed for a year and a half. And then I was like, okay, that's new. What am I going to do? And that's when I started thinking again. So my brain started going. So then in September 2020, I found out about Magnolia. And I was like, what's a pandemic-proof business? Oh, soap. That's weird, And I never thought that lingo was never in my head. And so that's why I was like, well, I love the concept of having a place, even during COVID, when people are masked, to come in and be able to touch and see and feel and interact with beautiful things and have an environment that bring instant joy and interact with people and make things, even during social distancing or whatever. I had a very large store, so it was never a problem. And so that's why I jumped in that. Then I decided I was trying to run two at one time, a retail store and this wedding business. And so I finally made the decision. I went another whole year trying to do both. And as you know, retail and weddings are both weekend jobs. And so it was not working out. And I had to realize at that point, I didn't sell because I saw the need to sell this business. I sold because I had to. So that was a hard concept for me that I felt like, oh, I failed this business because I haven't got it to where I want it to go yet, right? I wanted to build it up so that it was the person taking it on would have a great book of business. And it was almost like a desperation sale. And so I desperately, my husband said, you have to burn the boat on one or the other. And you need to do Magnolia. It costs us a lot more than, these little vintage little things you have going on. And I said, no, I agree. So I put them all up for sale and I sold them, individually, and they're thriving and doing great things here. And I just love seeing these babies running around when I see them. But for me, that was the hardest part, is actually having to sell a business that I didn't feel was ready to sell, or that I didn't really want to sell, but I had to. And I'm glad I did, because none of it would have worked. I mean, I didn't have the bandwidth to do all of those. Mm-hmm. So, long story, but that's probably my business pivot, right? And then change, and I just made a decision. Sometimes you have to let things go to be able to grow, and that's exactly what I did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I totally agree. So I know that you have an incredible faith, and you've shared that, at the lunch I attended. And so I'd love for you to share with people what role faith has played in your business specifically, your life and your business.
Yes. So we're a very Christian-based model of a business. So each one of our receipts has a verse on it, which is nice, and just for me, there always has to be something bigger than yourself that's working through this. And, I will struggle, like we all struggle with, I'm in control. I'm doing the things that I need to do, but I realize that's not the case. And I've done a lot of John Maxwell readings.
I love him.
Yes, and his business coaching models. He can apply a verse of the Bible to some relevancy to what I'm dealing with my business. And I find that to be inspiring, and just it helps get me through. I love his teachings, and he's taught me so much, and it kind of, as an adult, put all of it into perspective as to, the Bible has its need, its place in the family and in your marriage and in life, but then also now it's in my business. And I would never have known that or thought through how all these principles can apply into my day-to-day life, and how I'm a better boss, more compassionate, and I see the need, to foster the way that our team culture is.
Well, one of the things that you do also is you have a give back with Magnolia.
Yes.
And so I'd love for you to share a little bit about that, because I'm on your text and for Magnolia, and I just got something, even if,
yes.
You make a purchase with something specific, then a portion is given back to, and it seems like it's everything here in our community.
Yes. A few years back, I was just struggling with what keeps me going. Being in business is hard, and I'm like a serial volunteer. Like, I have to be a part of some good works. And so I was like, what can I start to do? How can I use our products, our services to make a difference, and then be motivational for my team and for myself on a day-to-day, that it's a much bigger than what we are, right? So starting our give back events early on, partnering with local charities. I didn't really know who to partner with and how to, promote that. And then the company started their Hope and Soap program, which kind of like meshed what I was doing with more of a concise charity promotion. So what we're doing, we do a lot, but this month particularly, we are doing a local charity with Lisa Bain Ministries, which I'm super excited with. And so she's been, I partner with a lot of charities, and I made a post about this, and those of you that are listening, like, you need to follow her, because she went to each one of my stores and thanked my team and took pictures with them and poured love and appreciation to them. And not a single charity has ever done that before. And to see her like take her time to go to each store and take a picture with them, it was just like, I mean, like I said, I was in awe by what that day was. And so each one of the team members is now like invested with who this is. They don't even have a face to most of these charities. They're just, I'm like, I choose something and then we're just making a soap and we hope we help them. And this one, they're like rooting and rallying behind this one because she made a difference in their life. And that's nothing we've experienced in the 3 years plus that we've done this. So that was a big difference. And so like, that's a standard that everybody needs to, like, though they're listening, like, that's what needs to happen if you're, partnering with somebody. That was huge. And then we're also doing St. Jude's at a national level with the corporate stores. And then our team, I'm so proud of them. They came up with an idea of helping the homeless initiative. So we've created a culture in our store of give back. So it's like, what can we do? And so they came to me in other Cherry Street downtown here, which we have so much homeless walking around, and it's so cold. And can we bring in like a clothing drive and partner with the church that's next door to us, St. Paul's United Methodist, and then also in the day center, and bring in some goods and clothes and socks and whatever, and then we give them back a gift of one of our products in exchange for that. So like, how can we use our products to make people move the needle, to be a part of a charity, support a charity, learn about a charity, or just give back?
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I have seen you do that on Instagram about, the coats and all of that, and I love that. So I need to come and bring something, yes, and get a little product too. I think that's wonderful.
I mean, it's like, no, but people will give no matter what. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? But it's neat that we can give something that we created to say thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I like that. So also, Lisa Bain has been on my podcast. I think I've interviewed her 3 times, but she's been on the podcast, I think, a couple of seasons ago. And she is just such an incredible individual. And I'm trying to remember if it's caring with connection or community and connection. She is all about that personal touch, that personal connection. And so,
yeah, you can tell, like I said, it touched us in the most profound way that no one's ever done. So it's been exciting to see the difference in my team this month with this charity.
Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. I know she'll love to hear that, yes. Or maybe she knows I love that. Okay, so I'm wondering, because you're always doing so much and busy, and so how would you make an investment in yourself, or how do you feel like you can make an investment in yourself that would maybe help you either personally or professionally? Or what? I don't know if I'm phrasing that right, but what would that look like? What do you consider to be, making an investment in yourself?
For me, it's investing in my goals. So I have so much outside of Magnolia. So right now, like after I leave this podcast, I'm going with my son to look at a property that we're going to flip. So I invest in myself with, like, I understand who I am now. And I don't fight it anymore. I used to fight it and be like, no, So now I just embrace this need that I have and this restlessness. And I'm trying to teach my son how to control his. He's very much like myself. And then learning that I have to find an outlet, though. And for me, it's definitely exercise. So I've not been diligent. Retail is very hard, and in the day you're exhausted. But to calm my brain and to do that, exercise will do that for me. So that's one thing that's always worked, is that. But for me right now, I'm looking at my goals, and I'm looking at my children, and they're adults, and so investing in me is now also investing in their future. And then we're looking ahead at like, where do we see ourselves in 10 years? My husband and I, so we put together our 10-year goals. I hired Shannon Wilburn as my coach. So she's a profound woman here in town too. And so we put together that stuff. So we're looking at getting, a little condo in Branson to bring our future grandkids to. Like, we're seeing our life now above who we are. I think when you get past 50, you're like, okay, it's time to like look ahead, not behind. So investing in my future, investing in my future family, and just putting things in place that I want, set myself up for calm and for peace, because that's not something that I normally am. I'm not a calm person. I'm not really a peaceful person. I'm a very restless and intense kind of person. But I crave calm and peace, and maybe that's a tranquility that will then allow me to create more things. I told my husband, I'm like, I don't know, like, we're going to be somewhere and we'll be 80. I'm going to be doing something, so I said, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And he goes, can we just sit? I was like, I don't think so. You can sit whenever beachfront property I buy. So yes.
That's so funny. Oh, I love Shannon Wilburn. She's been on the podcast as well.
I know. I feel like I'm just surrounding myself this year with like the most amazing, impactful people that can pour into me and mentor me in a different season in our lives. Like, it's just different being 50, and I don't feel 50. I don't look 50, but I'm 50 in the chronological way. And so, and that kind of takes me to is like, people get afraid of this age and they're like, well, I'm just stuck in whatever job, or I don't have the means or the whatever to do something, or it's too late. I mean, for me, like, it's like I said, I will be doing something. I'll probably like kill over doing something. Like, that's what's going to happen. Like, there isn't a way that I'm going to be in a rocking chair, like, it's just not going to happen. So it's never too late to chase dreams. And that's kind of how I feel about it.
Okay. We're going to end on that, because I love that. I love those words of encouragement. So thank you so much for sharing about your story and just everything with, how you embrace change and, Magnolia and what you're currently doing for good here in the community. I love all of that. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate you being here. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter is at Passion Sharing. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.